With GCCs looking good, there's another sector that Bengaluru is almost always bullish about, and that's startups. The last few months, though, have seen the Karnataka government aspire to move startup activity outside Bengaluru and develop clusters beyond big cities. A big part of this plan succeeding, however, lies in whether the city's human capital has the necessary drive to get out of Bengaluru and set up base in towns like Hubli, Mysuru, Mandya and Mangaluru. But is there a secret sauce that the centre might come up with by way of policy to help make this happen? And more importantly, how does the state now see the growth trajectory of its startup ecosystem shaping up in the context of this push? I got the chance to catch up with the CEO of the Karnataka Digital Economy Mission to find answers to some of those questions. All right, Sanjay Kumar Gupta, good to have you with us here on ET Now, along the road as we traverse the length and breadth of our country as part of our flagship program, ET Now Budget Yatra itself. We're in Bengaluru, India's startup capital, and it's been a few years now since the state government announced its plan to go about attracting startup investments and powering startup activity beyond big cities like Bengaluru into tier 2 and tier 3 towns. If it isn't too premature to ask, how has that initiative been going along, and have smaller towns caught up with Bengaluru's startup buzz in a sense?
First of all, welcome to the ET team here in the city of Digital India capital, Bengaluru. And warm welcome to the Karnataka Digital Economy Mission office as well.
Thank you.
Lovely to have you all here today. And happy to share that, yes, the government of Karnataka started Beyond Bengaluru mission in almost 4 years back. And where our emphasis is that we don't talk about tier 2, tier 3 towns. We actually call them emerging tech clusters, right? So because if you see the emerging tech clusters, we look proud, we look up. And we say tier 2, tier 3 towns, we look down. So our way of addressing of this is towards calling them as emerging tech clusters. In the last 4 years, we have focused on how do we create an ecosystem of the digital economic growth. And the digital economic growth comes from how the new investments are coming in place, how the new companies are coming up. Also look at how the innovation ecosystem are getting up for that level, right? And the third piece is the ease of doing business, the policy frameworks and etc. are supporting all those elements together.
Right.
What we did very differently is we created a product for each of my Beyond Bengaluru clusters. So we divided the entire Karnataka outside Bangalore into 6 clusters. Hubli-Dharwad is one cluster, Mangaluru is one cluster, Mysuru is one cluster, Tumkuru is one cluster, Shimoga is one cluster, like Kalburgi is another cluster. And we started with 3 clusters, Mysuru, Hubli-Dharwad and Bangalore. And I'm very happy to share with you in the last 4 years or so, almost 138 companies have set up their operations in these locations, creating more than 10,000 jobs plus in these locations. Earlier, we were looking at Beyond Bengaluru startup ecosystem there, where we were going to find out a couple of startups coming in place, though there were a lot of movement around it, but very few angel investors, incubation centers which were there, but there is no acceleration program. The access to the capital was a challenge. So we started working on those areas, right? So today we have more than, I would say, in these 3 locations itself, more than 2,000 plus and 2,500 plus startups which are operating from these locations. We have a program called as Elevate, where we give grants up to rupees 50 lakhs from idea to creating a POC. Almost 1,000 plus when the applications come for this, 30% come from these clusters, right? So this shows the way it is happening around.
But, I'm just curious, Mr. Sanjeev, what exactly were some of the key challenges towards getting this in? A lot of followers of the Beyond Bengaluru initiative said that perhaps the big challenge would be to get people living in Bengaluru, working in Bengaluru, to actually move beyond the city and look at emerging tech hubs, like you said. What kind of challenges did you foresee or did you encounter in this exploit?
Yeah, the challenges would be what, right? How do I get a fast quality talent for my company which is coming up there, right? This is one question which comes up. The second question is, how do we create more very class A infrastructure which is available, right? Secondly, thirdly, most important would be about not only this IT infrastructure or tech infrastructure, but also towards the other part of social infrastructure, right? You know, some of these experts, when they come and say, hey, do we have an international school there in these clusters? Right? The emerging clusters will definitely have some good quality schools, but we need to address those issues as well, right? Once we're going forward. The other areas of the hospitality, entertainment, and etc. Well, the two important questions is also coming as innovation ecosystem by these people around. So my investment cycle says that if I have a good talent, if I have a good innovation ecosystem, and an ease of doing business, all the other things will take care of it by itself as well. So we heavily focus on talent.
Okay.
We have mapped almost each of my cluster gives me good quality talent supply for around between 20,000 to 35,000 people, tech graduates coming out from that, STEM graduates. On an average, actual numbers will be varying from one here and there. And then the existing deployed resources of tech talent in those existing companies, the ecosystem there, would be ranging from around 15,000 to 50,000 people. Right, in existing deployed. And then your innovation ecosystem, which we are just talking about, how are you putting up the incubation centers, how are you putting up the cluster seed fund, how are you putting up the Karnataka Accelerator network, bringing the organizations like TIE chapters into these locations as an institutional mechanism. Coming out from them is the right amount of angel investors. Right, and then Beyond Bengaluru Blue program, where we actually select top 10 startups in this region every 6 months with a proper like a program, and we bring some top 10 to 15 VCs from across India, and they visit that place and they look at the pitches and they actually look forward for investments. So I think in these areas, the challenges is the tech demands of the talent, the VC demands more towards the deep tech, right? Looking at the innovation system, the access to the capital is another one. So I think these are the areas where we find challenges, but we have to move on with one step another, and then figure it out and answers for them.
I am now curious to know, what are the targets like? How many startups do you hope to culture out of these clusters outside Bengaluru? Since you mentioned funding as well, what are the targets with regard to raising funding from these smaller or emerging tech hubs, like you say?
So before that, I just jump onto your last question or whatever number of questions you have. But before that, 200,000 top talent of India every year arrives in Karnataka. We are still a hot destination of the best talent to come down here. The startup policy, the GCC policy, ESDM policy, AVGC policy, all of them are in a very mature stages of, because we are the first who started the startup policy when there was nothing called startup in India. Right. We are the first one who started the KidWin fund when there was nothing called a VC fund by any government agencies. So being this, we have reached a stage where we are demonstrating this part. In any of these angles of these policies, it's just not about subsidies or etc. It's about how do we partner in the larger ecosystem, bring together, and enable that as a fertile land for the future investments and innovations to come in.
So what are the targets then? How many startups? What kind of funding?
So under these policies, we are looking at 25,000 new startups to come up for the startup policy which was announced, in which 10,000 startups to come from the Beyond Bengaluru clusters itself. We are looking at creating another 500 plus GCCs to be coming to the state of Karnataka, right? And we are the leading states, right? We are 36% of the GCC manpower is here, which operates from here. If you look at 400,000 people which are deployed, 600,000 tech resources in the state right now here. Just one statistics, out of Fortune 500 companies, 400 plus have their R&D center in Bangalore. Right. We are looking at now when GCC number 500 plus goes up, those remaining 100 has to be operating from here.
All
and
the Fortune
plus,
500 companies.
And then we look at more of towards the Fortune 2000 companies to to be operating from here.
But Sanjeev, we also find ourselves at the very heart of India's policy making season. We're barely a few weeks, if not days away from the union budget. How can central policies and budgetary allocations and the budget itself support in powering these initiatives and take it to the next level?
A couple of areas where I think union government can look at some of the important announcements. The challenge that we're looking at, how do we create, for example, let's say the electronics manufacturing. How do we create these plug-and-play facilities all across the country where the industries, let's say a medium size of industry, going some innovation one and want to start manufacturing. Instead of going into the largest segment of the land parcels and etc.,